Hey guys, welcome back. Of course, I'm Jordan Flaherty, but first things first, before we get into the next Couch Confessions episode, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right below here. I really appreciate it. It means so much. You get a nice fancy email every time I release some new content like this, and it'll just keep everybody in the loop. And that's exactly what I want. I want to share, my craft with you guys on a regular basis. So thank you in advance. I appreciate it. Today's Couch Confessions episode, we'll be discussing my second single in promotion of my Truth is Naked album. The second single was called, and is called, Bass Move the Body. Big theme in this song, of course, is how music influences the body, gets in your spirit, makes you move, makes you act, gets you charged up to do, and maybe even to think in different ways. I didn't really include that in the song, but it was more about kind of the physiological effects of music, and particularly bass and drums. I think that's just a primal thing that gets into our body, us human beings, and makes us want to move. Started out writing this song last fall in 2018. I think right around the time I released the Truth is Naked singles. And all I started with was just messing around on the piano right here in this apartment. And I came up with that. And I think I was messing around with that in different key signatures, looking for, okay, how do I want the vibe of this entire record to sound after fully produced, and which key fits best. After playing around with that, I kind of went with something that people have traditionally said is the saddest key, which is D minor. But in this instance, I was doing something less sad with the bass groove in that key, and more like sinister or hard or kind of driving is what I was going for. They say the happy key is C major. On the other pole of things, D minor is kind of known as that sad key. In my case, again, I used it for more of a, like I said, kind of sinister vibe, and something to really, hit you almost. Then after that, I wrote maybe a few chord progressions, just kind of spitballing, because I didn't know what I wanted to do with the song besides that bass groove. I just had some beginning lyrics written, had the bass groove, had my key, and I said, all right, we'll go into the studio with my engineer, and I'll just kind of build it as it goes. What I wanted to do first, once I got there, was lay that bass groove. We ended up doing it in the intro of the song with just piano, which I love. I'm a piano player. I thought it sounded perfect just with that piano. It was a beautiful start. And then it goes into kind of a more synthesizer version of that with some subs in the background. And yeah, I chose to add the subs once we got to the studio, just to add a nice slap to it. I love synthesizers. I think I mentioned that in the last video, but chose a synthesizer, very low bass sound, to help that bass groove persist, just in a different form. It's kind of a nice tactic as a songwriter and a producer to sustain the same grooves you've been using, but do it with different instruments. A good example of that is Daft Punk's Get Lucky. The song is the same thing over and over, but they mix in all these different types of vibes, and that's kind of what I did in spurts in this song, Bass Move the Body. Then after that, once we kind of had subs, synthesizers, piano laid in there, I wanted to add the drums, of course, which is another integral part of the theme of the song, and also the song itself, of course. But what I do is kind of scan my options for kits that I think sound good for the vibe. I'll usually lay a few instruments first, then do my drums in the middle of that, because I want the kit to sound right for the entire goal and theme of what I'm trying to do with the music. So found one I liked, got the cool drum groove with that, like hit the exact notes I wanted based on the bass groove, and really just worked out. It just flowed. I'm loving that that's happening more for me as a songwriter and producer, that things are kind of just flowing out naturally. Of course I had inspiration on this song, which I'll get into, but aside from that starting point, definitely was a very natural and kind of building organic experience with this music, this particular arrangement. once I got those drums down to match that bass groove perfectly, one of the things I was bringing to maybe the first or second session, I didn't finish it in one session, was the inspiration of 50 Cent's In the Club. And in that song, he has this kind of guitar, smooth guitar progression in the background that you almost don't even hear. You feel it more than anything. It's that ding 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 ding. And I kind of did something similar, but in my D minor key that I talked about on the chorus. Helping build from the pre-chorus into that chorus, help it drive, give it some more movement, kind of that tick 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 tick, and just strumming that chord straight through, giving it a nice drive. That added a little texture to having the guitar in there with a lot of digital instruments. Overall though, as far as the influence from 50 Cent, there was other influences in the hip hop world, and that was kind of the hat I was trying to wear here, was being a hip hop artist and having more fun in that way. Kind of, Halloween as a musician, just trying to be something I'm not, just for a song. Try to have fun and experiment sonically from my normal vibe, which, is definitely contrary to this, of course. But I was definitely influenced by some of those early 2000s producers that really got the hip hop scene going. The Kanye West, Pharrell, Timbaland, people like that. Aside from definitely In the Club being an influence as far as its slap and its real hits on some of the instruments. So this song is definitely an ode to guys like that and that era. Aside from this just being me having fun doing something a little outside my comfort zone, but also just letting things develop based on what happens. Speaking of which, after we developed kind of the intro and then what would be the chorus throughout the song, the verses were created, and I switched the bass groove up a little bit and kind of channeled like a synthesizer sound that's reminiscent of DJ Mustard, what he used to do with some of his grooves. And then in the open air spaces in between that new groove for the verses, we stumbled upon this sample. We were just kind of browsing through them. Stumbled upon this sample that was called something like Kids at Play or something like that. And in the sample, funny enough, there is a point where the loudest kid in the atmosphere of the sample is kind of mimicking like a dog, like something like that. And I decided, I said to my engineer, I was like, let's take that part, loop it, and put it into the verses. And then it also persists on through kind of the transition into the bridge, which I think added a lot to that, which I'll get into. But yeah, so it's these kind of me being a rapper now, lyrics on the verses, and then this cool sample in the background going along with this like nice groove. So that's kind of how the verses came about. Been trying to use samples a little more lately. I used to be opposed to them, but just trying to grow and experiment with those things. But that sample came back, like I touched on, right before the bridge of the song, and was part of this building and reversed kind of sub bass and sample noise that led in very nicely to the bridge of the song. And you can hear that in about the middle. But then I wanted to do a synth solo. I found another synthesizer that was a little more on the high end, and I kind of moved it up a couple octaves. And I had the idea of the notes I wanted to play. I just built a chord progression around that with just natural acoustic piano. And this kind of turned into a very long sequence, but I wanted to kind of be a moment for the dancers hearing this song. And something I wanted to reflect in the music video, which I'll get into later. But yeah, it's just a moment for the dancers, just to, it's the breakdown, but, also a moment to get down, do your thing, break in the vocals. And the piano progression I came up with kind of accidentally turned into something that reminded me of like Kanye West, Can't Tell Me Nothing. And then the synthesizer, I just love doing a synth solo sometimes in place of like a guitar, say. I think it just sounds perfect in some of my vibes. I wanted to do that again here. But yeah, after that, that was kind of the production of the track. coming all together. And then of course I end with the chorus, and then come back again with the ending of the so, just piano doing the groove. Actually, the piano is on top of the synthesizers at the end too for the final chorus, which is kind of a cool effect we wanted to throw in. Just kind of decided last minute. But one final thing on the production of the track too is just decided kind of after the fact, the song was like near finished, and I said, you know what, I want to do one more thing. I had this inside joke with one of my good friends. I always used to do this thing, but like I just hit a home run or something like that. And I ended up throwing that in the ending of the song. But just wanted to mimic, like this is a hit, and then create like a kind of sports baseball stadium atmosphere with more samples, which I loved how that turned out. It was pretty cool. Just a little Easter egg kind of insider thing at the end there. As far as the lyrics of the song, I started out actually with very, very different lyrics. It was, it kind of came out like, this is how I move the world and move every boy and girl. And wrote that, thinking, all right, this will work, and showed it to my fiance, and luckily she's sincere with me. She just kind of said, this has kind of got like a Kids Bop vibe, not really feeling it. And then later in that same verse, I had a Donald Trump line, and I was like, I don't need to go political on this song. It's just supposed to be something more natural and for, people to move to, not necessarily like think about too hard. So I scrapped those lyrics, rewrote them all, at least the verses, because the chorus is what it is, the very simple refrain. But rewrote the verses to have something more organic and aligning with the theme of the song. And that's what came out, me trying to do this rap thing and step outside my box a little bit. As far as the chorus lyrics, it was definitely something simple. I wanted to stay simple, stay powerful with that bass refrain, and then just speak the truth I'm trying to, exude in this song. Bass moves the body, drums keep the tempo. Bass gets into you, makes you move, drums keep the timing as far as the two-step, the side to side, you know what I mean? Depending on the song you listen to, of course. But yeah, that's just really what I wanted to drive home here is, music does something to you, and there's a reason why. And I think it's these two instruments in varying forms that really do it for people at a very primal level and instinctual level. As far as visuals for this song, kind of wanted to tie some of these themes into that too. Recorded another music video with my videographer Asadelic. We went to a spot called Sierra Green in Philadelphia, and I told him, we're gonna go up there, gonna just do my thing, do some dance moves, do some running around, just anything I could think of. I'm just gonna let it flow, similar to the way the song was developed. Like I said, I want it to be for the dancers, kind of be for like a pump up moment. And went up there, was repping my Eagles gear, got the city of Philadelphia kind of overlooking, and just went up there, just danced. I actually, funny enough, hired a dancer for the shoot. He canceled last minute, so I had to go from this whole script I had to doing something all my own and changing it 2 days before the scheduled shoot. But I loved how it turned out, and I think it added an element to the song, kind of translating something more. And I thought it was a really great shoot. It was fun, beautiful scenery, and my dancing, I'll let you be the judge there. But yeah, I had a good time, and I loved how the video turned out. So yeah, Bass Move the Body, just me kind of changing my vibe entirely, getting into a new groove, so to speak, and letting the music, do what it has to do and what it does inevitably do to us human beings. So thank you again for tuning in. This was the second episode of Couch Confessions on my single, Bass Move the Body. You can check out song links below to the song. Please listen to it, check it out. Hope you enjoy, and we'll catch you next time. We'll be putting a few more of these out. We'll see you real soon.